Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the video. Seems like every time it's just doesn't like the new camera. So let's see. Source. I think last time I just ended up deleting the camera from my list of cameras, and I'll try adding it in once again. So let's see if that works. Sony A9 III device. That. Yep, that seemed to do it. I don't know. Yep. It seemed to do something at least, so now we've got some video of some sort. Whether it's great, I don't know. But alright. Sorry, I'm kind of learning this at the same time as I do it, so that's super fun. I'm sure everybody appreciates it. Let's see. Guess I don't have color options, so yep, we'll just go with what I have here. Alright. Ignore the big pile of boxes that are behind the Blood Moon, whatever version we're on. I think this is 4.0. But for the newcomers, which I don't think anybody that's new is on here right now because I think it's just buggy, but thank you for showing up again. Uh but if anybody watches the recording from previously, this is my latest Blood Moon that I had. I don't really like a few of the things that I have going on here with him. He does have a neck, it's just stuffed up inside his head because when I go to the fur meets, tend to just kind of set him on top of my head here. But uh, the screen here is a little bit see-through, so I think I may adjust that. And it's a little larger than I really need and want. So I'll probably change out both of those a little bit just to make the vision not as, I don't know, see-through where you can see my face. And I'd like to make his eyes a little bit squintier once again. And he needs a good brushing. But overall, that's kind of what I'm looking at here with the current Blood Moon. I got a little bit close on the shave. You may not be able to see that, but right in here, it's a little thin, a little bit on the cheek as well. So, yep, that's kind of where I'm at with him. So, I think I've mentioned previously as well that I like having a off-road or an outdoor version of Blood Moon so I can go out into the desert or just dirty areas in general and be able to kind of work with him and not worry about ruining the one that I would take to a con. So that's what I have. But that being said, what I ended up deciding to do, so last night when I finished up, I started looking at the pattern pieces that I have, and I tried to just reuse the same patterns that I have continuously. Normally I spend a little bit more time shaping, so I think this belongs on this side. Shaping how the pattern and the ears work because traditionally my patterning is very close to what I did the first time. This one, I think mainly because I'm live streaming, I didn't quite get everything set the same way. So I'm like, you know what? Rather than try to trim the foam, I'm just gonna repattern and go ahead and use some of the pieces I have from my collection just to help get me in the right spot for getting the markings correct. And so we'll go from there and do that. All right, so I think I'm gonna work on this side of the face here. Let pattern this. So duct tape, always fun. All right, so I tend to take lots of little pieces of duct tape. The ears being fairly flat, fairly straight, I just kind of start working them. And the longer the pieces and the straighter it is, it's not as big of a deal. But once you start getting to tight, small areas, I tend to go with a little bit more small pieces. That way I can capture the shape better. So that's what I'm gonna start doing right now. Try to get this kind of set up and then we can pattern it. And I'm thinking I'll probably try cutting out the fur and sewing it up a little bit tonight as well. But I kind of hope that I don't run into too many people in here tonight. Not that I don't want to see you guys, but it's a Friday night. People should be doing something more fun than watching a live stream. But if you're here, thank you again for hanging out with me. But all right, so as I do this, I just try to kind of keep everything flat, try to keep wrinkles out because it will translate into kind of the pattern later on, but that's all right. If I screw it up, like I think I just did, I think I can save it. All right. Yeah, it's not too horrible. Got that fixed. Hey, how's it going? So you're heading to Anthro, Ohio. I didn't even know that was going on this weekend. So that's pretty cool. Now that I'll say dance competitions are, whether it's competition or just a dance off or whatever, I love the dances. They're fun to watch. I think mainly because I'm so winded just wearing the fursuit that for somebody to actually dance and do all the moves that they do, I'm just more than impressed with what they can do with those. So I say to you, have fun tonight. Go do that. I think there's another con going on. Was it Las Vegas for con? It might be this weekend, but that'd be a fun one to go to. But I just don't think that it was in the cards for me this time. So, all right. Yeah, I think most of the cons I tend to go to, the dance comps are essentially the amount of people that sign up to do them almost equals the number of people that they really want to have going through them. So really, the ability to get tied into the dance comps aren't too super hard, but all the ones that do participate are usually pretty darn good. But that being said, I think me going to FWA, it looked like they had all sorts of different rules and requirements. Not that I plan to ever be tied into the dance piece, but just in general, it looks a whole lot different than some of the smaller cons I've gone to. So I kind of expect the dances to be pretty darn good. I'm sure there's plenty of very talented people out there that still just can't get into the comp at FWA. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it though. Duct tape. Gotta love the duct tape. But I think overall for doing the ears, it's not too bad. It's really, like I said, just a lot of straight pieces. I just kind of curve around I could probably use a nice new set of patterns anyways. So let's see. The hard part is when I flip it over and have to start the underside of the ears. I'm trying to do a little bit in here, but I, for the most part, am working on the top. And then once I start getting in kind of along the curvature, I tend to kind of have the face part meet up with the ears, and then also the ears kind of completely separate. So I'm going to go with a lot of small pieces kind of around the curvature because that's kind of how I've got it set up. And the gluing process for me seems to work kind of the best that way. Duct tape and a little bit of stringing going on. I don't like you. All right. Small pieces, small pieces. Gotta remind myself small pieces. You can put the music back on if you want. All right. So it looks like the outside of the ear is pretty well done. I think if I bend this around, but it looks like you guys have a pretty decent view in here. So I've discovered that I kind of like using, I'll say, not good name brand duct tape. Uh, it tends to be almost too good, and that's kind of something I don't want. I want something that kind of sucks as far as sticking ability, because when I'm trying to peel it off of the foam and everything, I don't want it to stick super hard. I just want it to peel right on off. So I tend to use this stuff is the original Stick Tech. I don't know what that means, but I think it probably came from, where is it? Harbor Freight or maybe Ace Hardware. Not a not a 3M product or anything. Uh, I don't want super cheap where it's got like no thread in it, so the thread stuff helps it keep its shape. But that's kind of where we're sticking at for now. And I don't have too much of a roll left, so I'm just getting really more or less enough tape in here just to keep the structure. But I don't want it to be super thick and non-pliable, so just plain. If you want to turn the music back on, you can, Mom. Alright, I'm about to the point where I need to flip Blood Moon on over and do the inside of the ear, which really shouldn't be a whole lot here, because most of it is kind of wrapped around the underside. Let's see how close I got. That's not horrible. So, alright. Overall, that looks like y'all can see. It's not beautiful, but it's doable. You guys could see yourselves over here, so let's see. Oh, I have some generic duct tape I've been needing to use. Well, here you go. Here's a great use for it. No, I personally don't like the 3M stuff or like the good duct tape. I love it, but I don't like it when I'm trying to use something that I want to peel it off again without leaving either too sticky of a backing. Because if you go too cheap, it tends to leave like a really crappy sticky backing. But if you go too strong, you just can't get the stuff off. So it's a fine balance, and sometimes it takes a little bit, but I find a big roll for about, I don't know, $5 or $6. That stuff tends to work pretty decently well. Uh, like I said, I think Ace Hardware had some pretty big ones for, I think they're about $7 or whatnot, and it was probably double the length of a normal one. So I'm like, yep, yep, we'll try this. So that's where I'm sitting at. All right. So is Anthro, Ohio, is that a pretty decent size con? Oh, I didn't even see Kate in here, so let's see. Man, I went to oh bed last night and missed your live. That's okay. Um, it wasn't a whole lot. Let's see. I think I just kind of built the back of the head here and glued the ears on. Went through a lot of back and forth on how I wanted to do it, and yeah, it's not coming as fast as I would like it. I think a lot of it was just, hey, I'm live streaming, so I'm getting a little bit distracted and going slower and chit chatting. So, all in all, not as fast as I could be going, but I think this is a lot more fun. It keeps me entertained, if nothing else. So, but yep, so, and I think you were not in here at the moment, but I tend to have all my old patterns for Blood Moon. These ears, I didn't take the pattern and kind of confirm that it was the shape that I normally use. So after getting them glued on here, I'm like, you know what? I can either repurpose the old patterns and just add a little bit of duct tape, or I can go ahead and just repattern. It won't take too much time and it'll probably be more exact to what these ears are. So I'm just duct taping once again. And then I'll use these patterns I had from Old Blood names, like all four of the previous ones, and I'll just kind of use them as a template to get my markings the way I want them. But so that's about where I'm at. I'm hoping to be able to pattern the ears, mark them up, cut them out, and then hopefully get the fur back out here, cut it out, and then maybe sew most of the ears, which all of that shouldn't take too long, but that's assuming that I actually move along pretty decently and don't, go super slow here and get super distracted. So, oh, I know it's coming up so fast for FWA. So I keep, yep, it's coming up way too fast. I shouldn't say way too fast, but it's looking pretty good. Anthro, Ohio, because it's right next door to me, but my girlfriend's suit isn't finished. Oh, that sucks. About 2,000 people here, I think. My first smaller con. Weird having so much time between events. Yeah, so I'll probably be out of place when it comes to going to a big con. I'm sure FWA is going to have more events than I can even consider being able to get to, so, but I almost feel like I'm probably going to do less at the bigger con, which I don't know how I can do that because I really don't do a whole lot at really any of the cons. I just kind of hang out and maybe go to a panel or two, but for the most part, it's just enjoying my time, hanging out with people, talking with people, meeting new people. So, all in all, that's kind of why I tend to go to. But no, Anthro, Ohio, I've heard of it. It's not one of those big ones that you hear about people saying, "Hey, this is coming up like tomorrow." So I think I keep hearing people talk about Furry Weekend, not Furry Weekend. Uh, Actually, it might be Furry Weekend Las Vegas or something like that. It's a 21 plus one, so none of the kids, more or less, that my daughter and her boyfriend and stuff, they're not 21 yet, so not able to go to that one. I didn't know that I'd really want to take the weekend and go up there for that. And yeah, I think it'll be good for me just to stay home and work on the suit this week. So That's what my plan is. All right. Yeah, no. I'm excited to kind of see what FWA does about just overall programming and how many hours of the night, like how late they go and stuff like that. Just seeing a con that goes full tilt, like most of the cons I hear about do. I just, most of the ones I go to, it's like, okay, they kind of start wrapping up about 10, 11 at night. You go to the rave or whatnot, and it's pretty quiet. They don't have a whole lot going on. There's a few people dancing around, but there's not a ton happening. So that'll be a little bit different for me, I think. But all right, because my pattern was used previously on the other side of the ear, I just realized I gotta flip it upside down to be able to match kind of shape and everything. So that's super fun. I'm gonna call that corner and that corner and there about what I'm shooting for. So this will get me kind of a white tip of the ear set. Let's see. I want to make this kind of a sharp corner. The one I currently have is more or less rounded, so I'm gonna sharpen that up just a tad bit and then come straight down. Sorry, you guys, you can't see the inside one, but I'm right-handed and I'm trying to get this drawn up. All right, so got kind of a straight line coming across here and right through there. All right, and we'll flip it on over and hopefully find the lines so that I can connect them up. That's always the next bit of fun here. So let's see. That looks like I went about here. All right, so my arts and craft skills are being put to a test, and they really aren't that great. But I am gonna come across and mark where I want the center line of the ear. So I tend to like to mark where the center line is, and this is probably going to be my primary cut to start taking all the pattern off of the ear. And sometimes things get a little wonky, but I will straighten that out when I start cutting. And then I also start finding kind of that main edge, because when I start laying everything, I want to make sure I get them kind of squared up on a sharp line. So I will more or less find that line here. If I screw it up too bad, I tend to retape it a little bit and then get that line straightened out just a bit more. But this is looking good enough for what I'm looking for. Right, and there it gets a little wonky. Yeah, we'll cut that kind of in. All right, I think I saw. Let's see, I'm still here, by the way. I'm just hand sewing. Oh yeah, you were saying you were working on a project there, so I'm excited to see what you come up with. Hopefully you show us. I think you, maybe I missed it, Buggy, but you said that you were working on a fursuit a while back, and I don't recall seeing a full one, not a full one, but like the head base, unless maybe I'm just drawing a blank. It's been a while. I've been off of YouTube for quite a while, like a month and a half. Gotta love joining or working a new job, because then I just kind of let everything drop for a bit. But, all right. And as I was laying in bed last night or a couple nights ago, I was thinking about how do I get the focus to be a little bit more precise and stop being so jumpy and blurry. Oh, I thought you had said that you're working on a fursuit head, but maybe that's just me and my daydreams. But anyways, we have the ability to change the focal length, and I've got it on the most blurry setup, so that focal length was not quite good for keeping kind of a in focus everywhere. So hopefully this is a little bit clearer tonight, and not as blurry or jumpy back and forth. But if it's not, I'll worry about that later because then I can change it again. Um, I totally ain't making a fursuit. Oh, my bad. I must have misunderstood. No. All right. I think I cut a red piece of the glue out previously, so it's in my already cut pile. Gotta find it. All right. Okay, so this should be the little red and black piece here. I will mark that out so that I can recut it. All right, there's one little chunk. So I think these ears, from what I'm seeing, they're gonna be just a tad bit bigger. I don't know if that's actually a good thing, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The back side of the ear here that I'm marking right now, that's a little bit larger. And it's probably a good, looks like half-inch longer. So it'll allow the kind of the cupping of the ear to show through just a tad bit, a little bit more. I better start marking the direction of the fur because if I don't, actually I'll know exactly which way it goes because it's pretty much a standard for me now. And I'll mark it red and black, R&B. It's not hip hop, but it's red and black. And then we got white. I could just put W, but I'm putting white because I'm sure some of it will get smeared. And then this is black. Long. Again, don't know why I'm putting long or anything like that because it's pretty much always the exact same thing because I really have very little shaving, but whatever. It makes me happy when I'm looking through a pile of duct tape patterns and I have no idea what it is. I can kind of reference, hey, what is this? So this is outer inner ear. So inner outer ear. We're gonna go with that. So this is outer outer. Can't spell. Wow. Hopefully you guys can't see that spelling there. And then we have white main inner ear, and then white side ear. I want fur pattern going towards the tip, towards the tip, towards the tip, and yeah. So I think I've talked about how much I hate uh, PLA plastic for 3D prints. About one of the only things I find good, valuable use for that is making these bobs or build on fursuit building and storage help, build on body or something like that. But this guy, he's super thin plastic. he was broken or cut about here because that's about how far I could go. And then I have another layer here, then I ran out of material. Now I've got another layer here, and then I printed the rest out. So this guy's made of all sorts of different things. He's got epoxy on him, so you can see a shiny spot where all the glue just kind of gooed out all over him. The ear doesn't quite line up, but do I care? No. Bob sits here and he's happy being just good old Bob. But all right. But this guy works pretty good for this head. Let's see. I'm watching you and I'm watching the Titanic with my girlfriend. Hey, that's a pretty good combo. Both of them are sinking ships, so that works out well. All right. Let's see. Did I get all the pieces? So I've got the black and white. I've got the inner ear. I've got the other side of the inner ear. Ooh, actually, no, that's side ear, top ear, and inner ear. So I should have the correct number of pieces, so that's a win. The ear tip. Cool. All right, so now I get to disassemble this guy. I might as well just leave his head on there still. And I will come through and start doing a real thin cut kind of along the inner part of the ear. I'll let the curvature of the ear dictate where my knife blade goes. I only really want to get as deep as cutting through the duct tape and not really cut the foam, but there's enough glue in there that it shouldn't hurt it too bad. And then this is when I use all two brain cells. Don't want to screw anything up. All right, so, and what's great about working on like ears and stuff, at least for me, the ears usually have plenty of play because if this were out, like there's a lot of material in there, so if I make it too large or too small, overall it tends to work out pretty well because I can use up some of the material pretty quick uh, just by gluing a little bit more deep into the seam here, but let's see. Cut. That one's pretty thick right there, so gotta recut that. And a little bit more towards the root. And now I just start unwrapping the present. I should probably re-glue that little section down. That's actually just peeled off. Okay, so that's super exciting. It's nothing too bad. It's just a little bit of glue came off the head base there. It was probably a little bit dry when I glued it or stuck it to it, so that'll just be a little bit of hot glue in there. Like I was saying, this is where I like having kind of cheap duct tape because otherwise it starts tearing the foam apart. You can see this peels off fairly well. It's just coming off in a big sheet. All right. And I normally have some sort of big pile of shaved fur laying around where I'll kind of use the duct tape and pick up the mess. I could probably do that to the floor and it'll take a lot of that sticky tackiness off of the duct tape. That way it's not trying to stick to itself. Uh, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'll do it on smaller pieces. So if you see me starting to duct tape my floor, that's why I'm doing it. Any of the fur fibers that are just hanging around, I'm trying to steal them and keep this less tacky. All right. There's a straight line-ish. Another straight line. All right. There's one pattern. That actually lays pretty well. So normally I have all these more or less cut with seams, but this one lays pretty flat, so I think this one works better. I think the biggest thing that's different is normally I'll draw these triangles out. If you can see the tips here kind of get chopped off. I'll draw those out and I'll leave the end of the ear a little bit floppy, and then I'll sew everything kind of together. So let's see what I can find on the floor here. There's not a whole lot. Yep, still a little tacky, but that's okay. It won't stay tacky long. I'll stick it on the fur in a minute. Okay, now I'm gonna cut out the red and black. So the R and B, get you chopped out. All right, there we go. One more piece. That's okay. You can, if you're still around, having some mom time is always good. You may not enjoy it so much now, but it's well worth it. Have fun with your mom. Hopefully you guys do something fun for you. So, all right, duct tape there. So is there any significance to Titanic being watched tonight, or is it more or less just a good show that you guys love? Bye, have a good one, Buggy. All right. Getting closer and closer. Please don't roll over. Okay. Oh, this is gonna be fun, I can tell. Yep. So one thing I think about when I'm patterning is where things end. So I want to remember that I want to have the outer earpiece with the red and black sewn on together, and then I'll tie those end pieces together, because otherwise I don't know where this end begins and this one ends. So that's kind of the tough one. Hey there, good to see you again, Nanny Poo Poo. Now correct me if I'm wrong. You were on a different user or screen name just a little bit ago, right? That was you? Ah, there we go. Got the ear, the long part of the black ear. All right. Well, now probably the most difficult part of this. Huh, okay. Let's see. I was on yesterday. Yeah, I know you were on yesterday. I was confused because maybe I'm just misread it. Oh, okay, so somebody wrote, or not somebody, Drake Mayers wrote Duke Duke. So for some reason in my mind I'm thinking Nanny Poo Poo, Duke Duke Poo Poo. I don't know. I joined the two of them together, so I was like, huh, he's got a different name as well, but nope. I'm just, yep, I'm smoking too much duct tape here. So, all right. Well, welcome back. So just kind of catch you up on what I was doing is I decided that the pattern for the ears was too far off and I didn't want to just start modifying the one I had. So I came through and I just reduct tape pattern and more or less used the patterns I had just to draw the shapes I needed uh, onto the new pattern. So that's what I'm doing, and now I'm about to go get the fur and we can cut out some new fur. And after that, I may sew it on or sew it together, but I really don't know. We'll see. But I need to make space. I think I've got 2 or 3 yards of the white, 2 or 3 yards of the black, and it just takes up a lot of space on the table. And I'll show you guys something that I was messing with. I was trying to, whoop, where is video? So, all right, so I did print out a new set of eyes as well, and then I cast some resin eyes as well. And I was gonna see if putting a little bit of blue tint in them helped at all, but I really don't like the way it turned out. I think it's just too distracting. You can see it's, yep, I don't like the way that turned out. But unfortunately, these eyes I made the other day, which look like this, we'll come back over here, try to find you guys. So you can see all the bubbles that got introduced in it because I wasn't paying too close attention to the E6000 glue that I was using to glue it on. So when I did that, I introduced all sorts of bubbles despite the actual epoxy pour being super clean. There were very little bubbles there. The whole back of the eye is full of bubbles. So I then cast these, which are, like I said, they were clear, and then I tried pouring a real thin layer of blue on the back just to like see if I could get a little bit of a blue cast to them. And despite it being such a small amount of blue, it's very blue. And you can't really see through it so well. So I am casting another set of eyes. So that'll be done tomorrow. And then I need to glue with the E6000. That'll probably be midday tomorrow that I get that figured out. And then I should be able to put the eyes in and do some epoxy sculpt. So that's my plan for tomorrow, hopefully, if I can get everything going the way I'm hoping. And despite that, let's see, black, black, white, 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 and the red and black. All right. Yeah, I wanted to try to be the old man, by the way, at work and figured, hey, it's Hawaiian shirt Friday. So I wore the Hawaiian shirt because, well, I'm part of the old retired people crew now, so retired crew, still working, still fairly young. Maybe not in the fur world, but let's see. All right. I was on yesterday, though, not too far off. Are you trying to get 4.0 done by FWA? Yes, I am. That's pretty much the whole reason I decided to make 4.0 was just there are a few things that I didn't think were good enough for me to take Blood Moon to FWA, or at least the current version. And if I don't get this done or it doesn't turn out well, I am more than happy to take 3.0 with me to FWA. It's just one of those, hey, if I've got time right now, I'll go ahead and try to make a different version, one that I feel fits what I think I should have. But if it doesn't work, not a big deal. So, all right, let's see if this silver works. Works good enough. All right, so arrows are pointing more or less the correct direction, but they're not. So let's see. Okay, there we go. That looks a little bit better. So I tried to use up things that I can get patterns out of, some of the parts that would be about scrap. I think both of these would fit in here pretty decently, so that should work. Like I said, the back of the duct tape, it probably sticks pretty well to the back of the fur, but there's enough little fur fibers on the back here that I'm happy with them getting stuck to that, and it shouldn't stick too much. And my duct tape patterns then don't stick together as much when I start stacking them. But I need to keep these patterns separate than my primary ones. So I need to mark these probably with a 4.0 version or something like that. And if I like these ears more, maybe I'll swap them out in the future as the only pattern I have. But me knowing me, I'll probably keep all the different sets and totally forget which one belongs with what. But, alright. Curve, curve, curve. And then I don't do perfect plain lines because I tend to leave a little bit of overlap between all the different patterns, and then on suit I'll trim it as needed. Uh, but that's just kind of how I've been doing it. I may adjust this a little bit, try to use up a little bit less in here. Cool. I don't know what I would do with that little strip, but yeah, absolutely nothing. It's gonna go in my scrap box. Who am I kidding? So let's see. So I'll get the best positioning to get the fur heading in the right direction. And outside of my tracing of the pattern, I tend to leave a little bit of room for seam allowance. That way, when I use the sewing machine, I can sew up to the line, but not be cutting things a little bit too tight there. So I'll tend to use about a width of the Sharpie here as my cutting edge. And if I'm a little bit off, the width of the actual fur, or sorry, the Sharpie edge on the fur leaves a little bit of excess, so I go in excess of that a little bit more as well. So all in all, when I start sewing everything together, it's not too bad. Um, I should cut, but actually I'm gonna mark as well. I want to make sure I'm laying the fur in the correct direction once again, and that gets pretty close. And this one's always the hard part, is it's easy when this duct tape sticks downward onto the fur. It kind of sucks when it sticks to your hand because pulling your hand off isn't as easy, especially if you need to readjust your shape or whatnot. So let's see. And if that was stuck to the right hand side, that should be the left hand side sticking down. I'll mark that. That should be the outer inner ear. At least that's what I'm going to call it because it kind of makes sense in my mind. And I am screwed here because my hand is stuck. All right. Okay, I'll mark that as right, and outer inner OI. That's probably the easier way to mark it. There's black. This one should be fun as well. This is the outer. and that should be right. Right? No, right, left. That should be left. Ooh. I've got a fan that I forgot to turn on, but I think my cooling issue isn't quite as big as it was previously, but it just fell, so it shook the whole camera and scares me because I've got the camera kind of hanging over my shoulder. Whew, that would have been scary. I don't want the camera to drop to the floor. It is insured, but man, that's expensive. All right. Think I'll come over here and use this area for this fur. I want the arrow to go that way. Actually, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to figure out where the best spot for my black fur is, but all right. Arrow pointing the correct direction. Pattern is on the sheet, and that looks good. Just start marking and hope that it stays that way. I really don't like the sticky side up. It's difficult to work with. What I could do, which saves me a little bit of dealing with this, but not worth it probably to me, is I can stick this to paper and then chop out the paper, but that's just more work, and after a few uses the duct tape's not as tacky. All right. Constantly spreading this out, keeping it flat. Get it realigned. All right. So that was left. This should be right. Outer, outer. All right. Black, black. I've got 4 ears. Well, not 4 ears. 2 ears, 4 pieces, black. So I think I've got what I need from the black. Now it's the good old chop it out time. So I know I've mentioned this many times, and actually since I've worked with the duct tape, I don't want to deal with duct tape on the tip of my knife here. So I need to try to find my new blades. That way I've got a nice, clean, sharp blade that's not going to leave like jagged little edges. So I'm going to look for my sharp blade collection. Stop sliding. There we go. Here's I've lost my collection of blades. Oh, no, here we go. All right. So I use like a super cheap collection of razor blades. I got like a 2 packs of these, so 240 blades from Amazon for like 10 bucks. They just come in a box and I swap out quite a bit. That way I don't have crappy blades that I'm trying to make work, and I like to have nice sharp new blades whenever I can. And when I throw them away, either duct tape or painter's tape, whatever I've got available. Duct tape's like 2 feet, 2 inches that way, so I'm not gonna use that. I had painter's tape, and then I just wrap it up in painter's tape just to keep it from being a super bad sharp object within the trash can, and now it's just a nice little tab that I can toss. So there's that. Have my razor blade putting into the receiver. All right. And my chair is hitting the tripod. Gotta fix that. Okay, so see if that helps. I'm already zoomed all the way in. So, okay, so I tend to just kind of do outside of my pattern, and I try to keep that distance pretty consistent. That way, when I'm sewing it, everything kind of stays about the same. And I don't press very hard, and or I hope not to, when I'm cutting into the fur. That way I don't chop the fur fibers. Occasionally I do jack it up, and then I have to come back and either cut out a new piece or try again. Actually, it's not or, it's and try again. But this is working pretty decently. All right. So I'll say one thing about doing the live stream that's probably, I think, going to help me a little bit is I'm feeling like I'm just kind of talking to people. And I think if I use that when I'm actually making normal videos and voiceovers, rather than, try to do a not so perfect stream or whatnot, I think it'll help kind of the production value or whatever of a normal video. Because I always feel really hesitant to talk, and I really don't like talking. Why am I doing YouTube when I don't like to do all the things that are associated with it, which is like talking? I don't know, but I'm really having fun with the videography and stuff like that. I've just lost a lot of time recently, so I'm like, hey, if I just live stream it, I don't have to worry about it later. Uh, but I definitely need to kind of come back in and kind of get a good rhythm of putting videos together, a little bit of live stream, a little bit of normal video production, and I'd like to learn more and more techniques. So that's really why I kind of got into the YouTube thing, is just I want to learn more and more on videography and splicing, putting videos together, because to me, I find it a lot of fun, and there's a lot of things I can do with it. I just don't do a whole lot of it uh, yet, just due to time constraints, but I'm not going to be working forever. And when I do, you know, I want to have fun with it. And to me, video stuff and pictures, videography, photography, both of those are really fun projects for me. So I figure if I can kind of learn it as I go, it makes it kind of a little bit easier. And in the future, maybe I can do a little bit uh, more of a career, or at least a good side project, make a little bit of money on the side, but nothing. I'm not looking for pro level stuff, even though a lot of people use me now kind of on the pro level. I don't think I'm there. I I have fun just doing it. Um, and that's more on the photography side and not the videography side. I haven't really shared that secret with a lot of people at work or anything, but and same type thing with the furry part. Yeah, not everybody knows about it. I'm showing my face more and more on camera because it matters less and less now. But alright, I'm just rambling. I'm not looking at the screen, so sorry. I'll check the chat here in a sec if there's anything going on. But just rambling kind of about the photography thing and kind of why I'm here, what I'm doing, and try not to press too hard so I don't cut through the fur. Just the backing. Alright. That's looking pretty good. Sometimes I get little strings here and there that I want to chop through, so gotta fix that little bit there. And that looks pretty good, so. And if it's got a decent sized chunk of just junk, that goes onto the floor. Goodbye. So, inner, outer. Oh, do I already have 3 pieces cut? Wow. Okay, one more piece from the black. And glad enjoying my. Wow, can't even speak. Glad you're enjoying yourself. Yes, I am. And your photography. Wow, I really can't talk tonight. You're a photographer as well. What camera are you using? So my primary one that I've been using for about, I'd say, a month and a half, 2 months now, kind of as a self-retirement gift. I got the Sony A9 III. Uh, I kind of like working with the fast motion, so I'm able to slow down the speed of the video to up to 240 frames a second. Uh, at that frame rate, I'm looking at a HD level, but what I really like is just being able to capture a ton of moments within a short second with a ton of frames. So I've been going to like the rodeos and stuff lately nearby just to do some fast motion photography. End up with, 14,000 pictures at the end of this shoot because I can shoot 120 full frame raw pictures a second. So that happens real quick. Luckily, rodeo only lasts about 8 seconds if you time out. Uh, so all in all, a lot of pictures, but you get some really cool shots of, people getting stepped on or, you know, pounding into the ground or falling off of the bowl, stuff like that. So I've been having fun there watching that type of stuff. But yeah, my Sony A9 III, and then I've got assortment of like G Master lenses here. I'm actually using that now as my streaming cam. I think I've got the GoPro, but I just tend to find that as a little bit too generic, too basic, and it just didn't work as well and usually dropped out. Uh, but no, so I'm trying this one, and I think I like it. I'm figuring out how to stream with it a little bit more. That's just I'm gonna try this. Hey, it works. Let's go with it. Okay, time swap out. Going to white. Well, okay, yeah, the Sony A7 IV, that's a good camera as well. Yeah, very much the same. The camera I had previous to the A9 III, I had the A7 III. And like I said, I kind of wanted to up my number of frames a second. And I had a hard time choosing between whether I wanted to go with the R5, but those file sizes can get really large. But I really wanted to work on the high speed action, which the R5 does really well. But I think the smaller file sizes that the sensor of the A9 III have kind of bode themselves to work well for me in the videography realm. I was able to shoot 120 at 4K, and then with the, let's see, that was the big one. And then I've got the pre-capture that I can do with the A9 III, which if you're out taking pictures of birds and one flies off and you almost had a picture of it and you're like doing the half trigger button focusing on it, if you shoot that picture after the bird already flew away, it'll give you up to a second prior to you pushing the button as a file, and you can do 120 frames during that second prior to you pushing the button. So I was able to capture things that I totally would have missed otherwise because it looked back in time and recorded the shots for me. So I thought that's really cool. I've used it with like hummingbirds and got some amazing shots. So that's why I ended up going with the A9 III. Um, the price is ridiculous. I couldn't necessarily see myself spending that, but I found a refurbished one or renewed, they called it on Amazon, I think. Uh, it was just a return basically. And the thing was 4,500 bucks versus like 6 grand. So I'm like, that sounds pretty good to me. So I tried it out. I figured if I didn't like it and things were just a mess with the camera because Amazon, I can just return it. And I fell in love with it and kept it because the thing is amazing. It had like 0 shots on it. Um, Overall, a good camera. But let's see, you got a few G Masters as well. And you've got a, oh wow, Hasselblad 907X, but we'll be selling it since it sees no use nowadays. That's a steal. Yeah, I wasn't real sure what to expect out of the pre or the renewed or whatever Sony, but I was really happy with what they gave me. Overall, it was a good deal and well worth not spending an extra $1,500 on the camera. So, but no, I looked at so many reviews. I spent so much time on YouTube looking at like, hey, what do people think of the A9 III? What do they think of the uh, A1, the A1 II? Like, which one is the best camera for me? Because right now I really don't care. If it's gonna get me something that kind of meets my needs, I'll do it. But what do I do with my great camera? I set it up for YouTube, and I'm just sitting here drawing furry parts onto fur, so I'm really not making the best use of the camera. I may end up making a new YouTube channel where I can do slow motion bull riding because I'm also doing a lot of the video in a 120K or 120K. Wow, 120. So that way I can record the videos, and I've shared some with the bull riders and stuff like that at the local rodeos, and people love it. They've been made some pretty good friends, so I think if I do that and maybe make a YouTube channel kind of more on the less furry side, uh, that might happen as well, but we'll see. I just like exploring and trying different things, and I hope I don't kind of stray too far from the furry side, but if I do, it was fun. Let's see. Sketching out a little bit more on these ear tips. All right. I think I saw the chat move in my corner of the eye. I will check that here in a sec. All right. I think that's left. Ooh. You know what the hard part on this? Normally I've got these broken out where it's got a little bit of dimension to these, but I need to know where to sew. So let's see. That's the end. I think this is the wide spot, so wide. Cool. All right. I bought my original 7D that way on Amazon. Some great deals to be had. Yep, absolutely. And Sony is without a question the best camera company in the game right now. They are just so clinical. So I agree. I think the first Sony camera I bought was the NEX5. Actually, it might have even been the NEX3 when they first came out. I think it was a 5. That was probably back in 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. We're just about to move to Japan. I ended up just buying. Oh, that didn't work out. Uh, Buying a camera. It had like the 3D picture function and all that type stuff, which I actually never really used. Which most of that 3D type stuff kind of disappeared. No one really cared after some time, but it was kind of cool. Being able to shoot 3D pictures. I'm sure any of these cameras can, but like I said, most nobody cares about the 3D pictures or stills or anything like that because 3D TVs and all that type stuff just kind of disappeared as well. So, um, but yeah, so I bought that camera and then I bought an NEX6, which was kind of like a predecessor to the NEX7. I bought the NEX7 and I'm like, wow, this didn't really give me much. So I returned it promptly back to the store because I really didn't see much value for the price that they were asking for it at the time. And I think that became the body more or less, or kind of the base for that when Sony went to the Alpha series and A7. So sorry, I'm just rambling, but yeah, I've been kind of stuck with the Sony stuff really since then. I've been with them for 15 some odd years using the E-mounts, and I just kind of keep progressing over time with what they have. So I've been really happy with them. It sounds like you have been too. They're very much in the game as far as trying to be the leader and kind of being the leader in the digital photography world. And they've got some amazing stuff. So hopefully this camera is a little bit of a future proof. And I kind of expect the newer versions of like the A7 5, not the R5, but the A7 5, I kind of expect that to be kind of a hybrid between the A7R5 and the A9 III in its capabilities. So I think I'll be good for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. I'll be happy with this body. Um, let's see. You picked up an A7 for concert work and never looked back. Yep. Yeah, no, they're pretty amazing. Don't apologize. Love seeing love. Wow, my eyes are really tired. My day is spent computers and teaching and talking on big TVs, and so my eyes are really blurry. So don't apologize. I'm looking across the room. Love someone talking about cameras or any subject really, quite passionately. So no, it's kind of fun. It's just kind of where I'm at and how I kind of got into the YouTube stuff. Um, I didn't know really what to do YouTube on, and when we went to the furry convention, and I'm like, well, this is fun. Hey, maybe I can do some YouTube videos on, hey, this is what I'm doing with the furry stuff. I'm old, I have nothing else to do. So actually, I've got plenty of other things to do, things I should be doing that doesn't involve furry. But I have fun doing this. I feel a lot younger doing this. I end up with a much younger group of people at the conventions typically, but my line of work is really kind of working with people that are between 18 and like 24 as kind of the average. So for me, I don't feel too old, even though I'm kind of old. Uh, but the people I'm working with, it just kind of makes sense that I feel younger. I'm dealing kind of working with them all the time. So going to a furry convention and seeing 18 to 24-year-olds really doesn't bother me too much because that's who I work with day to day. All right, here we go. I think we've got all the whites. 2, 4, 6. Cool. And hopefully the blade is nice and sharp still. It feels like it is. I'm sure if I go back and watch the videos, I'll be like, I'll talk and I'll talk and I'll talk. But then when it comes to cutting out the fur, that's when I shut up and I focus because I don't want to screw this up too much. So if I get quiet, that's why. For one, I don't want to spend the 20 or $30 a yard on the fur, which is actually pretty cheap. It's not that bad. But once you start factoring in shipping and everything, it gets a little pricey. But I've had this fur now for about a year and a half, ever since the first blood moon, and I bought a couple yards expecting to have quite a bit more that I was going to use, but I didn't really know how much I needed, so I'm like, I'm just going to order 2 or 3 yards of each. The black, the white, and I really don't need much red, so I think I ordered like a yard of the red. I don't use a whole lot of the red. It's like little tiny scraps that I use, so I have tons of that left as well. But I use the black and the white for other projects beyond Blood Moon, and I still have quite a bit. And then I bought some scrap boxes here and there that I use a lot of other colors from, and they've been pretty good. I really like Big Z Fabric. What I do like about them is they keep stuff in stock. You, at least for me, when I order it, I get it within like 2 or 3 days, and it's pretty good quality. I haven't had anything that I've been too concerned about. Uh, I did look at some of the Howl stuff, and Howl fabrics, they're really good. I really like what they have, but they run out of stock consistently. And for me, if I'm making something and I need a certain color to match what I was working on, I'm not going to wait a year and a half for it to come back in stock. So that's where I'm at. Um, yep. So like I said, this is my big Z fabric fur. Um, my favorite one's there, which is either loved or hated, probably. I don't know. Maybe not hated, but I use the Arctic fox fur. It tends to have a little bit, I don't know, I would say thicker amount of fur, and it goes all the way down, and it just lays, I feel like, differently than a eco shag fur, which is kind of the normal fur that people tend to use on fursuits. So I really like the way the Arctic fox lays. So I've got the black and the white as an Arctic fox, and then the black and the red I think is just like a, I don't even know what they called it, but I think it was like a just normal eco shag type thing, but it's got like dye injected into it. So the back of it has little spots. So if you shave it, it looks like a little ladybug on the back, or actually on the front when you shave it. So that's one downfall with it. Can't really shave it too well. They do have poison spike now, which gives like a black tip to everything, and it's not a dye injected, so it's, sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Brain, cut this without screwing it up. And there we go. All right, so it's just on the surface, so you're able to shave it and not have to worry about like the ladybug spots on the back. So, so yeah, they've been making some changes to some other material, their stock, probably taking feedback from people and asking manufacturers to, hey, change this, people don't like it, and then trying that out. I've seen some uh, four-way stretch, but they've got a very limited amount of fur. But I could see that being pretty good, like in a bodysuit or something. But all right, here we go. Yeah, so Big Z, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're like essentially LA, California area. So for me to get like a 20-inch by 20-inch or somewhere in there box of fur, it's shipping is like 25 bucks or something like that. It's not too horribly bad. Uh, and those boxes are usually pretty heavy, like 10, 15 pounds. I say heavy, but it's fabric. It's kind of fluffy fabric, but it's a pretty solid box. Uh, but I think their shipping's gone up in price a little bit lately, which I can't fault them. I've shipped stupid little things and they don't weigh anything. The box isn't that huge and it was like 40 or 50 bucks. So I figure if I'm getting a whole huge box of fur for even 30 bucks shipped and delivered to me like in 2 or 3 days, I'm not complaining. That's pretty good. It's a small price to actually get the fur on time. And I think it was a lot cheaper than Howl Fabric anyways. Their shipping, at least for me, on the West Coast is way expensive. I was not too pleased overall with Howl's responses to a lot of stuff, but not talking down on it. It's just for me, where I'm located and the response time of getting stuff shipped out, Howl just doesn't quite fit the needs for me. But I know I'm probably the 1% of furries out there, or at least makers that like Big Z over Howl just because everybody loves Howl. But I can't wait to do them, or I can't deal with the weight that they take. Let's see, going to give making a fursuit an honest effort soon. I come from a pretty crafty background, and I think I can do it. Not well, but I think I can do it. No, I totally get that. Uh, I think I've mentioned, and no, I have, but whether you've seen it or not, his daughter and I went to PDFC, and that's here in Phoenix. We saw the fursuits, and both of us were like, wow, we could probably make that. Let's try it. And so I started it first, and she was kind of in high school and stuff, so she didn't have a whole lot of time. I think she was working on band and all that type stuff at the same time. So I started making a fursuit, and then once she got some time, she started making one for her boyfriend, and she's done a great job with him, and she's about to make a full body suit. But yeah, the two of us, we've always been kind of crafty, and for us, it sounded like a challenge, but a fun one at the same time. So we started making them, and uh, she's getting offers to do commissions quite a bit, but or requests for commissions. She just hasn't picked any up. She's in college and she doesn't really have the time or the space to do them. But she's kind of been doing like me. Hey, if it's a friend or somebody that we know and we have an idea of what they need and want, hey, we can make one and see how it goes. And so she did her boyfriend's, like I said. So that's been pretty good. Uh, I think that was left. If not, I'll figure it out real quick. All right. And come back over here and do the flip flop. But yeah, truly, if you've got kind of the basics and understand like order of operations for getting things made and put together and stuff like that, or you know, can visualize things, I think overall making fursuits really isn't too difficult. I think I'm making it more difficult than it needs to be uh, with Blood Moon 4.0 because I'm doing the live stream. Normally, I'd probably be at the I'm done with this phase, but I'm going slower, but not better. I'm just going slower. uh, but yeah, so I'm taking more time. I think the very first Blood Moon I did from start to finish and collecting all the pieces I needed and realizing, hey, let me cast my own eyes and stuff like that. It took me about 3 weeks to complete the first one. Uh, I spent a lot of time doing it, but it took me 3 weeks. I think I had more full time days off, so I would just work on the thing all day. And then I'd sit there and stare at it. And then I'd work on it some more and then stare at it. So it was kind of a what worked, what didn't. Do I like the way that fur pattern looks? I take a lot of little scraps and just like duct tape it or pin it or just a small little dab of hot glue and leave it on the body or whatnot. And that way I've got a visual of, hey, do I like the way that looks or do I want to change it up? And so I would constantly just sit there and change what I was doing. So I think I made two sets of ears for Blood Moon initially. One of them was pretty much all black and then had a red tip and it felt like Krampus, the German, I will say demonic type Christmas dude. I'll say Santa Claus-esque, but he's scary and kind of mean. Yeah, first Blood Moon kind of looked like him. I was kind of wanting to go for a little bit more dark of a character than what Blood Moon turned out as, but I just wasn't feeling that character. And then as I started modifying, hey, how I was laying the fur and what colors I was using and just the patterning, Blood Moon just kind of fell into place and became what he is today. The I think the biggest pieces were changing up the ears, and at the very last minute, I ignored all of the patterning that I had done on him and really just decided I'm going to throw a little bit of red on his chest, a little bit by his cheeks, and see how that turns out. And that was a very last minute change. And that turned out to be probably the things I'm most happy with how they turned out. So I think it was just in my mind, hey, this is what I want to do. And I did it. and it worked out. But overall, that's where I am at. Let's see. Not well, but I think I can do it. I'm sure you can. And then you're just scared of sewing. Dude, yeah, I totally get that piece as well. I actually knew how to sew a little bit, and by a little bit, it was just sewing like a patch or something like that onto a jacket or something. That was about all I knew how to sew, and I felt like there's no way I can make a fursuit. I'm gonna just hope for the best. And at this point, I'm still not obviously gonna be a great sewer because I don't know a whole lot about it. My daughter, she knows like all of these different stitches, which you can't see, but there's a ton of different stitch options and everything like that. I know how to thread the thread. I know how to adjust tension a little bit, and then on her machine, we've got some speed options. But for me, I just tend to do a straight stitch. It's worked well. I haven't had any issues with the fabric falling apart or breaking at the seams or anything. So I just kind of do it, and if I find that I can do better stitches in the future, then I'm sure I will. But yep. Oh. But yeah, if you've got a basic understanding of the sewing, it's not too bad. All right. So I've got this big pile of fur. I have no idea which pieces go where because this is a slightly different pattern that I forgot how it goes together already. So one of the best parts about duct tape and laying it in all sorts of different directions, you've got little different layers that, hey, when you put them all together again, you can kind of see what went where. So that's the white, this is the black, and I need to figure what goes where. Okay, so I can see that both of these connect up at the upper parts of the blacks will connect at the top, and so I'll use that as my first linkage point. So I'll look for the two right sides and hope that I marked them appropriately. And all right, so got those together. I was thinking of doing some TPU base first, or the first time around. Yep, for me, where I live, TPU only makes sense. Like Phoenix is just too hot for any of the other plastics, especially if you're gonna go drive somewhere. Like I've got a pickup truck, so for me, if I'm driving across, a couple different states in July, even if I'm leaving at 4 in the morning, it's over 100 degrees, and I just don't want PLA plastic to start melting inside the bed of my truck or anything. So that's where I ended up getting to the point where I'm doing the TPU. I don't want to drop it on the floor and have it shatter into many pieces and be very sad. Uh, it's got some flexibility, so if I hit my face against something, it's not going to hurt as bad or shatter. And just overall, I like the TPU. I'll probably get to a point where I'm like, okay, let's modify this and do something else. But right now, my preference is that TPU. It's got a little bit of give to it. It can be a little bit heavy. A lot of people like just the foam because of how light it is. I get that. I also I like the structure and the preciseness that 3D printing gives me. So, but let's see. Want to do my chameleon Sona since I already have a cat. Okay, so you've already got a cat suit. That's cool. Oh, is it chameleon or? Yep, I think so. I should actually like make my chat a lot bigger than it is. It's pretty small over there, so that's why I'm like always like, what's going on? All right, so what I did is both fur directions are going the same direction. I make sure to work my seams uh, as kind of tight as I can, keeping all the fur fibers faced back to back, and then more or less just run these little alligator type clips or whatever you want to call them, sewing clips along the edge just to hold it in place. And then when I run it through the sewing machine, I'm able just to kind of follow along my white or silver line that I had marked on there, and that leaves a real nice line. And I'll back stitch on the start of it, so the back stitch, you go inward, then you go back, and then you start sewing again. That way that end doesn't fall apart on you. So that's what I do there. And this machine is a really good machine. I'm really happy with it. uh it's not mine, but I've kind of claimed it as mine because my daughter's at school. I'm gonna use this one because we have like a little Singer one, which is okay, but this thing's like, I don't know, $700 machine. It's really nice. It does well. But so, like I said, I go forward just a little bit. Now I'll back it up 2 or 3 stitches and make sure that the fur goes around this little knob on the back of the foot. And then I just kind of slowly work it along. She can go a lot faster than I can. I like to go slower. All right. So, and then once I'm done sewing that together, I just kind of give a quick tug and kind of work along the seam, see if I missed any of the spots. Everything looks pretty good. You can see I've got a little bit of seam allowance still sticking out. When I do this on like the face, I'll tend to come back along with the scissors and trim it off quite a bit just to make sure that I don't have this bunched up on the face and leaves little bunches, but that's kind of what I have. A cat and a crow. Okay. And then you're back. Welcome back, Buggy. Yeah, I'm still alive. I got to the point where I'm sewing the earpieces together, so yep, I'm still here. Unfortunately, probably for most, but I'm here. But hopefully you got to do something good. I'm guessing you went to dinner, but I could be wrong. Moms like to feed their children for some reason. Let's see. Here we go. So now I'm going to add the red, and that's where, for me, trying to visualize, hey, what pieces go where and when do I need to sew those on. I will almost always screw up the earpieces because I'll sew something and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? That did not go there. But I think I may have this one down. We'll see. But you got Chipotle? We just got a Chipotle down the street. The closest one used to be about 15 minutes away, and now it's like, I don't know, 4. So I should go there more, but I'm glad I don't because, man, I don't think my body can live off of pure Chipotle. Actually, I think it could. Uh, let's see. Somebody somebody doesn't want to hear about Chipotle, but no, it's pretty good. It is expensive, but sad part is actually nowadays near me, Chipotle is one of the cheaper places I can go. Uh, which is really sad because $12 for a burrito I don't feel is extremely cheap, but there's so much. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Let's see. I want to do this. I'm distracted, so I'm making little mini mistakes that don't matter. But no, I like Chipotle quite a bit. My favorite used to be like Moe's, but I couldn't find any in Phoenix, but they just opened one. I think it's about 15 minutes away. So Moe's I felt like was a decent Mexican place, very much like Chipotle, but at a much more economical price. So I kind of like Moe's. I haven't tried the new one. I figure I'll give them a week or two to work out the issues that they may have. But all right, come on. There we go. You get healthy stuff. Well, what are you even doing? That's not even going to Chipotle if you're getting healthy stuff. No, I've been getting bowls lately, but really I my favorite thing is just a good burrito with the queso, the hottest salsa that they have, and then I calm down that hottest salsa just a tad bit, to the point where what do I do? Yeah, I put sour cream on it just to lighten the blow, and then I'm like, give me as much cheese as possible. My wife looks at me and says, you don't need all that cheese, and I say, give me some more because I love cheese. And she's probably listening over in the background, rolling her eyes. But I love cheese. Cheese is so good. But yep. The queso's not great, but when you throw it inside the burrito, it actually tastes pretty good. Yeah, the corn salsa's not bad. I I just go with the real hot stuff. I don't know why. I like the hot stuff. But then I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. So let me cool it off with some of this dairy type stuff. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a pretty good option. Except I'm too cheap for Uber Eats, and I think I could just drive 4 minutes down the road and I can have it now, and I don't have to worry about, a $40 meal be for like a burrito. Uber Eats, ugh, they're so expensive. All right. All right, so we're starting to get some blood moon things going. It looks blood moonish. So I will sew the tips on here and then we'll get the inner part of the ear going. Once again, I'll go forward a little bit, back stitch, and clear this from my little knob on the wheel or the foot. And here we go. And then Nami Poo Poo's right. The you talking about Chipotle and then me talking about Chipotle, that's not helping. I really want Chipotle now. Once I'm done streaming, I may end up going and getting Chipotle. So thank you so much. But no, seriously, that does sound damn good. And I thought so. All right. Like I said, I go back and kind of check my seam. I felt like I was falling off that one. It felt like it shifted on me. So I gotta go back and resew a little tiny bit on the tip of the ear here. I'll flip it over and go opposite direction just because that'll be easier for me to line up the lines. Pull that through. I forgot to backstitch that one, but I'll do it here. It'll get captured by the next sew line anyway, so it should be fine. All right. Ears are coming together. All right, let's see. Yeah, I've got really truly about half a blood moon. I've got his face over here in a little pile. I've got I don't know how much is done. Probably 2/3 of the ears here. Um, Gotta get this little corner lined up. I think I will go down the long length side first, and then I'll come back and do the short length. That should be easiest. All right. So one clip, two clip. We'll see how many clip. You're going to an Easter party thing tomorrow. That sounds fun. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Probably wake up, check on the epoxy pour on the eyes, and maybe try gluing the eyes to the eye coloring, the paper, and then hope that that dries. And during that meantime, I'll start working on sculpting the eyes onto Blood Moon, and then I can move along. But while all that's happening, I'll probably line the inside of the head. That way, I don't just have raw foam as my primary base. So I'll probably do that. On Blood Moon, I don't mind not shaping it correctly and doing a duct tape pattern. I just take a piece of uh, what is it? It's like a sports shirt type material, and I just kind of glue it into place. I stretch it around and let it just cover the little bits I need, and then I'll worry about it later. But it tends to be pretty good, and it doesn't like bunch up weird to me, so I'm happy with that. All right, all right. Stitch, cut, and overall looks like a good enough stitch to me. And now I gotta get this little tiny bit. So these little bits kind of get fun when you've got 3 or 4 corners coming together. I try still to push all the fur back to the outside. That way I don't have to deal with it sticking on the side that I'm sewing on. I don't like the fur getting caught up in the needle, all sorts of little things. So I kind of bend it around and get it nice and clean on the side that I'm sewing on. I clip it, and those clips help hold everything in place. Clip, and I put a clip, and then I take the clip off in like 2 seconds, but it holds it in place while I start getting it in position. And I'm not worrying about changing my thread, at least not on this stuff because it is so thick. There's so much thickness to the fur, and usually the ears don't have much like seam popping or anything because you glue them down. But if I'm doing something like on the neck or like certain areas, I'm gonna match the thread type. But this area, there's so much black that it doesn't really matter, or it hasn't up to this point. I'm 4 or 5 blood moons deep now, so if I haven't had an issue yet, I'm not too worried about it. That's the one area I don't have issues with. You ordered Chipotle. Congratulations. You have now made me want it some more. But all right. And now in my mind, I'm thinking all I have to do is get through maybe a few more stitches, and then I too can get some Chipotle. Hmm. I feel as though I marked this incorrect, so let's see. Nope. Mm, I think I got it right. All right. So sometimes, especially when you're gonna flip-flop things in position, they look weird because they don't quite match up the way you're thinking that they should. So sorry, it's out of view. So this guy looks a little bit off, and that's what I was like, how does this work when I sew it like this? But I always forget that I need to flop this inward, and that's gonna now line up correctly. So it's a three-dimensional shape. I'm gonna start clipping from a known entity, which is this triangle point here. So three different corners coming into one spot. That'll be the start of my clip. And it is windy out there tonight. We've got two or three big palm trees out front. They're like, I don't know, 15, 20 feet tall. And I can hear all those fronds rustling in the wind. But, bro, how do you work with that seam allowance? I have to put at least 10 yards of seam allowance in to even get it close to being right. I've got, look at all that. That's a ton of seam allowance. I don't know, it's eighth of an inch. I, no, I used to work with a whole lot more, but now I think I've got about where I tend to like it. I don't end up with too much, and I don't have to come back and trim it out. I do use a straight stitch, so for me, that's what I've been running with. Uh, that way I could come back and trim it out if I have too much, but I think I'm at about the point where I really don't think I've got too much seam allowance or too little. It just kind of works well. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's what I work with. So, but no, I've kind of massaged it over time, getting it down. But all right, there's the lineage of what I'm looking at. You can see very few fur fibers sticking out, and they don't get caught up in the needle so bad. So, all right. And since I like this piece being nice and tight and everything is going to originate from here, sometimes as you sew, everything starts shifting in direction. So I want this to be the piece that stays put. And then if it grows in length, I'm okay with it growing towards the end here. But so that's how I start sewing everything. It's just kind of based on where that fabric is going to shift to, and I may screw it up. That's my mentality. I have no formal training or really any training on this. I just kind of do it. And my daughter laughs at me half the time. She really doesn't. She's like, "Wow, I'm kind of surprised you actually know what you're doing." And I'm like, "What did you just do there?" She's like, "I changed the thread or the stitch pattern." I'm like, "How do you do that?" So, I'm happy with the straight stitch. That works well for me. But no, I seriously want Chipotle now. So thanks, Buggy Boy. Maybe if I mention Chipotle enough, maybe they'll sponsor me or have me make them a burrito fursuit. I don't know. I doubt it. They probably want nothing to do with furry, which I'm okay with. They don't need fur. Fur and Mexican food don't seem to go well together. All right, back stitch, and chop. Did I get it all? I got really close to missing it right in here on that little stitch, but it is captured, so I'm happy with that. And one more little piece, and this ear should be about done, other than the great big long stitch, but don't worry about that. Yeah, I used to do a whole lot more hand stitching, but as I've gone on, I tend to really like I don't know, the seam that a sew or like the machine will give me. And it tends to really just do things well for me. So I tend to use the machine a whole lot more than I used to. But when it comes to like paws, no, I'm totally hand sewing those for the most part. So paws take me, I feel like, forever. I could work on a fursuit head base for 2 or 3 weeks and feel like I'm way faster making those than a paw that takes me a day hand sewing. So I hate making paws, so they're just kind of painful for me. And I still need to make a new set of paws for Blood Moon. I'm not looking forward to that. And I've only got 2 or 3 weeks before FWA, so hooray! I need to figure out, for one, what kind of pattern am I doing? Am I gonna go with the same one I did on the last one, or do I want to go a little bit more intricate, a little bit more design wise? But I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I found a pair of paws I'm like, that kind of looks like dripping blood. Maybe I should do something like that for Blood Moon. But then, I don't know, it feels a little bit too, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right for Blood Moon. So I probably won't do that, but we'll see. Time will tell. All right, now I'm gonna flip the whole thing over. I'm gonna work from the tip of the ear down, so same type thing. But this is where things get really painful. Pushing all this fur into a little seam here and clipping it into place without all the fur popping back out. So for me, this is usually the worst part. The very tip, trying to get that first clip on without it exploding in my fingers. All right, so there's the first one. Once you get away from the tip, it's not so bad. Thank you, Buggy Boy. I appreciate that. You're so thoughtful. I'm glad you would make them for me, but you're not going to. So, but that's okay. I'll do them. I just need to figure out what I want to do. This guy's so generic, black, white, red. I really can't go too crazy with them, but I want to do something. I don't know, it just I feel like I can do so much more with his paws, but then at the same time I'm not very flashy. I try to kind of stand off and just get ignored, which is funny because I'm on YouTube doing things and I don't want to be seen. I don't really want to be noticed. I just kind of do my thing. So the two don't really make sense going together, but whatever. I am more or less hidden in the background. I like to do my cameras, do their furry stuff. I like to do a little bit of everything. None of it really all makes sense ever, but I have fun. Too many freaking projects and jobs going on. Let's see. I'm definitely not a beginner furry, but I am a beginner fursuit maker. Oh, I mean, way. Yup. What do you mean? Yep, I don't know what you're talking about. I do like your animations. They're very cute. I really like those. And by the way, I did show my daughter your sketch of us in Hypnotic. And actually, I showed my fursuit group, and all of us love it. They're just so good. And we really liked how my daughter's battery bat came out. Like, hers is just spot on. She's like, I just love how everything turned out. So thank you. That made our day. We really love it. So I'm glad that you didn't hold on to it forever by yourself. Thank you for sharing it. It's so cute. And let's see. Why not have a little bit of a blood or of a moon bit on it? Um, so originally Blood Moon was supposed to have a like a crescent moon with a blood drip kind of right down the middle of his nose. But at the last minute, I strayed away from that, and I've considered going back and doing one kind of like that again, or something. Let me see if I whoop camera tripod. Mm. So yeah, my original thought was doing, and I'll do it down here. Not a very good sketch because, well, it's being drawn for boop, boop, close enough. And then I was gonna do kind of like a blood drop lit type thing there. Wow, now it looks like a smiley face. Huh. Looks horrible, but I think you get the gist. So I was gonna do like a blood drop with the moon and have that right on the top of Blood Moon's nose. I thought about doing something like that with the paws, but I really don't know. I I kind of like the plain, just plainness of Blood Moon, how he is. I really don't know. I keep I keep going back and forth on that type thing. Like I said, there were some blood drips I kind of wanted to do down the arm for the paws, where it'd come down kind of into about the top of the palm area. But I really don't know. I think just plain old. My previous ones were black and white mixed fur that came down into white fingers. I don't know if I want to try to integrate some red into it or not, but I'm really I'm torn on it. I think I probably have about a week before I have to start working on those, so maybe next weekend. Um, but yeah, we'll see. And I may end up doing like the Blood Moon thing on the Angry Circle. I think you were part of that discussion on the last one, but the angry guy here, I may give him a little bit more personality. So kind of getting that blood drop type thing here, maybe, or the moon, whatever. Get those drawn onto him. Wow, that doesn't look great, but it's not supposed to look great. It's a sketch. But yeah, so I might do that on the angry circle. We'll see. All right. Now the long seam. Sometimes these get a little bit tricky to get going, and I screwed that one up. So when you're trying to work it one direction versus another, I knew this was probably going to happen, and it just kind of tied a knot on itself. But I really don't want to work towards the tip of the ear. So I'm going to chop some of this knot out. And I know Lazy Buggy Boy is a probably much better sewer than me. So she probably has some critiquing going on. Can't quite tell because I'm looking at my sewing stitch removing going on. But anyways, I think I will try this again. And I'll probably go a little bit past where the foot or where the needle goes in and then back it up a little bit. So we'll try that. All right, that seemed to work there. I'll back up the needle to the end or close to the end. And there we go. So that seemed to work. Definitely not a professional, but all right. Did I miss at all? Uh, one little tiny spot here I missed. Didn't quite catch both sides of the fur, so I'll catch that real quick and then I'll check the chat here. All right. Let's see. Wow, a lot has happened in here. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where we're at. Okay, I'm sorry I can't make them because I got no money and I'm also super busy with more than 10 other projects. Nope, I totally get that. I think you saw me early on. I was trying to do all sorts of things. I had like 4 different fursuit projects and then I just ended up scrapping them because I'm like, I just can't do all this right now. And on top of that, the Tennessee State test is going on. Yeah, that's always fun. I'm so glad I don't have to do testing like that anymore. Oh my God, thank you. That's so nice. Oh, I'm sure you're great, but I'm so glad that she liked it. Yep. Sorry if it sounds like I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. I'm just mentally checking off what we were talking about. So I'm saying, yep, 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 yep. If never been this noticed by anyone, and I really feel like I'm a person now. I get what you are for. Let's see. You should have done that. Uh, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really like a lot of flashy things, and I feel that starts getting me into that flashy part. And Blood Moon's just supposed to be kind of a clean, just he's got some dimension, I think, with like the fur and the colors going on, but he's overall pretty subdued and just kind of chill and just kind of blends into the background. Once I start adding too much to him, I feel like he would stand out more or something. And I think that's where the angry Sergal would get me a little bit more out there, a little bit angrier, and just this guy's just too sweet. Look at him up in that top right corner. He's a nice little guy. He's not a he's not flashy. He just wants to exist. Um, you've been sewing since you're like 4 or 5. That's crazy. I I was drawing houses. That's what I was doing when I was that age, all the way up until I was in high school, and then I stopped drawing houses. But still. And how did you know I was a girl? Usually people assume I'm a boy, but okay. I think I've been chatting with you for so long. I was pretty sure that you were a girl, but yeah, buggy boy. That kind of makes you sound like a boy. Uh, yep. No, overall, I guess I've got an ear. I call them socks. I don't know, ear sleeves, something like that. I've got one sewn. Let me pick this guy up. Bring him to the viewing table, and let's see. I'm afraid to try this thing out. Gotta flip it inside out real quick here. Actually, which way does it go? Which ear is it? I think it's this ear. All right. So I'm gonna assume. Nope. I think it's the other ear. Or I did everything backwards and it's not correct. Which is probably the more likely option. All right. Get stuffed in, reach in, and slide. So flip it around this way. Sliding it on. And there we go. We got the start. I need a brush, but hey, he's starting to look like Blood Moon. That's a win. At least it looks like Blood Moonish. So we got one ear. Let's check out the face that I did on like day 1 or 2 or whatever, because I had nothing else going because I had no foam. All right, Blood Moon, everybody. He still has no eyes. His eyebrows are a little bit loose because I'm not sure where I want to sew those yet. And everything's lining up about right. So, what do y'all think? There we go. We've got a Blood Moon, about a 50% of him. We're getting close. Now I just have to actually like finish the inside of him and finish the outside of him, put some straps on, sew the other ear. So much I need to do with him. But overall, I think for not having a final shave or anything on him, he's got a pretty decent looking coat here. I like having this little bit thicker, but the thing I find is he gets a little bit scruffy. So I don't want to trim too much. I might just come through and do like some uh hand trimming for these little fibers that just stick up a little bit more. You can't really see them, but they're a little bit longer. Yep, there we go, a little bit. So I might do some hand trimming on those type things. We'll see. But but no, I'm pretty happy. We've got a Blood Moon in the works. Stick him over in that corner. He can stare at me with his mouth open. And this is what we're going for. Just maybe less fixing a few things. Few less jacked up things. Like his eyebrows, that one's just way too red. Things are shifted in the wrong spot. This one is about more what I'm going for. You know, minor things, but when you start seeing them, they start standing out. His eyes kind of focus outwards, and they should be more dead on. I changed how I did something, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like. He looks a little derpier dead on, but he's less derpy than he was previously. Um, but yeah, we're getting there. Let's see. It's coming together. Yep. That looks like a penguin flipper on your arm. Oh, yeah. I'm like, wait, what was I doing? Okay, no, that makes sense. The reason I have been sewing for so long is because, as far as I can remember, my mom has always been sewing, and since she has always sews, she also has a whole website where she sells dresses and clothes and bags. And obviously, if she is close to or a clothes designer, she would also teach her children how to do it, right? Or to sew, right? Yep, that makes sense to me. So I get that. Ooh, you can see how bald I am there. But yeah, my laptop is covered in like a layer of foam or fur there. Um, Sorry, checking my phone for any messages I've got missing because I keep hearing it buzz. The group is, I got added to a Sergal group that's gonna do a Sergal meet over at FWA, so that was cool. I was got hit up in Twitter, yep, or X, saying, "Hey, I see you're going to FWA. Do you want to join up in the or get thrown into a Telegram chat regarding a Circle meetup?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So I got added into that chat, and it's been pretty active today. I think it's a fairly new chat, but I could be wrong. But so I'm looking forward to that. It sounds, or it looks like there's about 40 or 50 circles in that group, so I think that'll be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. I think almost every FurCon I've gone to, there's been like 3 circles, and probably 2 of them are me. Uh, so, yep, this will be nice. I think we'll have enough to actually make a cheese wheel. That'll be my first. So, I'm excited about that. You almost, it happens. Yeah, sometimes I think back in high school, it was always during lunch hour that I'd have the milk box. I don't know if they still serve milk at lunch, but I had a little milk box and somebody would say something or I'd say something and then somebody laughs and then I just spew it everywhere. Then I become the milk spewer. But not that you guys needed to know that, but there you go. You have more info about milk. Maybe my circle friends in that telegram. Yeah, I'm not real sure. It seems to be very specific to FWA, but if they're in that one, that would be awesome. Uh, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing. There's some pretty cool circles in there, so it's probably almost nationwide size of circles all in one chat, and that'll be fun. It'll be nice to actually meet some of these guys that I see online, and yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of just the grand size of FWA. I'm way off to the side over here. I don't need to be way off to the side. I can actually be over here. I moved the sewing machine and I'm like, oh, I gotta sew way over here. Why am I stretching so hard? 10 bucks for milk. Ugh. No. All right. We've got the red piece time. I'm not gonna lie, this new pattern that I have for the ears makes a whole lot more sense putting together. So I'm kind of glad I decided to remake the pattern for the ears. This actually saves me a lot of brain processing power of like, where does this piece go? How does it line up? Because previously it was all sorts of weird. I had to just kind of like guess where certain pieces went, and then I'd miss sew something, and then I have to take the seam ripper to it, and then take it apart. Then I kind of jacked up the edge of the fur. Then I make it a little bit smaller than it should be, and then it gets a little tight, squeezing on. So all in all, I think this pattern is better. But we'll find out here probably tomorrow or Sunday when I start actually gluing the thing together. Hopefully I get it done this weekend. If I get it done this weekend, I'm gonna feel pretty good. Uh, ooh, that's not quite lining up. I think I went a little loose there. Oh yeah, there's a big bunch there. Anyways, yeah, so if I get it done this weekend, that'll give me plenty of time to potentially make another tail. I would like to take another tail to FWA. I don't think it's necessarily in the cards for me to have to do, but if I can do it, I'd like to make a new tail. The current one, I've got two different ones. The one that I had Sun Hollow Suits make, she did an amazing job on it. I've worn the crap out of that tail, and it's been indoors, outdoors, and then I've kind of made it into my indoor only tail. But unfortunately, I washed it and then put it outside here in Phoenix in the summertime, and I think the sun might have like just done something weird to the tips of the fur and everything, and it just feels crunchy. Or it could just be our hard water here that we have. But in the end, I'm like, it unfortunately probably needs a little help. So I know she really wants to remake it for me, and I'd love for her to, but I don't know that she has the time. I don't want to bother her right now because she's got a few commissions that she's trying to work on. Yay, Chipotle! I hope you got something good. And I'm more than happy to meet up at FWA. I know I'll be meeting Cade. She was in here the last few days as well. I made her suit or her head. Uh, it was there are a few new elements to it, and I think I would like to make some changes, or like at least now that I've done it once, improve upon what I did. But we're gonna meet her, and I'm sure during the weekend if anybody sees me, feel free to hit me up and let me know, and we will definitely talk. I'm I'm more than happy to meet people. I like meeting people. I already feel like I've got a connection or at least a history with you guys. You guys have been here with me for quite a while. Lazy Buggy Boy's been with me, I think, about the first week or two that I started. Uh, she's been with me for a long time, so that's really cool that she hangs out and listens and watches. And I don't know how she does it. I don't like listening to my self talk, so but she's been doing it for like a year and a half now. So, uh, but yeah, definitely hit me up. If you're in Instagram or X or anything, definitely hit me up and we can like be talking about, hey, where you're at, where I'm at, whatever. I'll be going to the aquarium fursuit meet type thing on the Thursday when I get there. And then I'll have Jinx. I made her suit. She yep, okay. I thought I screwed something up. She's a family friend, so we'll get her and have her there on over the weekend. And then after that, I'll just kind of be hanging out with her for the most part. But that is pretty much my plan. So, let's see. Yay! And then I got you on Insta as well. Okay, that's perfect. And then my friends say I'm a good listener. If you've been listening to me this far, I'll say that they're not incorrect on that. So thank you, because I really know that I'm not that exciting to listen to. I just kind of ramble. And when I actually made my first videos, I go back and watch my very first blood moons, and I'm like, what was I doing? What was I saying? It was kind of painful to listen and to watch. So, but I really don't feel like I've improved any. I just feel like I'm better now than I was, but really I'm probably still pretty bad. But the live stream is kind of fun. I really get to interact with you guys, and I find it to be pretty fun. I don't know how it's going to affect my overall end product here, so if it screws up, I'm just going to blame you guys. It's not my fault. I'm just kidding. Let's see. I never thought I would be able to because, ADHD and autism and, all those good things. Yeah, you're totally not part of the furry fandom or anything like that if you've got all those things going on. And then I wish I got tickets for the aquarium. Oh, yeah, I was actually looking today to see if they had those on sale and they're saying it's completely sold out. But no, I think that's gonna be pretty interesting. The aquarium's a pretty cool aquarium. I really like that one. There was a good one in Japan when I lived there as well. I really, really miss that one. It was right on the ocean or right on the beach there, and they had some big whale sharks and all that type stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So I really miss that aspect of Japan. We lived on like a tropical island of Japan, so it was called Okinawa. And then from there, I would fly up to Tokyo quite a bit. Got to go hike Mount Fuji and stuff like that. So that was a lot colder, especially in like July, which I say especially, even in July, uh, which threw me off when I climbed Mount Fuji at 10, 11 at night, got to the sun or got to the very top at the sunrise, and it was like 30 degrees in July. It really sucked. But that's, yep, that's that. Sorry, I talked about aquarium and then I ended up on top of Mount Fuji. You can see where that ADHD piece, I probably have it and don't know it. I go squirrel quite a bit. Um, Being better than you were before is an improvement. I think I need to replace the batteries on that. I hope we don't get locked out. We've got a keypad somewhere in the house and it's starting beeping at us, so I think I need to replace the batteries. Because we may get locked out and that'll really suck. So remind me replace the batteries when I'm done doing this. Let's see. I totally get that because I hate my voice with a passion and I feel like I sound so younger than I really am. Japan knows how to do aquariums. Yes, they do. No, and I never like my voice. I think I've got a weird accent. I kind of just I don't know. I don't like my voice. People ask me, "So, where are you from? What's your accent from?" I'm like, "I was born in Texas." They're like, "Oh, that you don't sound Texan." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But it is what it is. I just pretend that it's normal. All right. But yeah, I think everybody hates their voice, especially on video or on cam or recordings of them. It just, you feel it just doesn't sound right. um, but yeah, Japan really knows how to do everything. I think Japan, they're pretty awesome. I would walk down the streets in Japan, any part of the city, any time of day, never had an issue, never felt like I was in a bad part of town. Even bad parts of town felt pretty darn nice. Uh, they keep the roads and streets and everything clean. It was just such a great society, I think, overall. I'm not saying that they're better than us, but I don't know, the people might be. As a whole, I think the US is good, but I think when I watch the news, they like to broadcast like the worst of the worst. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Like the worst are shown on the news. So when I lived in Japan, I really dreaded having to come back to the US just because of everything I was seeing online or on TV. But what I see on TV and online, those really don't match what I actually interact with and have, friends daily and who I talk with. I'm glad America's better than we portray ourselves online to be. So that's about all I'll say there. But I miss Japan. Oh, thank you so much. And I'm sure you aren't nearly as bad as you think either. Like, I think you guys are just used to hearing what I sound like on video. I'm not used to hearing that. I'm used to hearing what I hear, but I think it's better than it used to be as well. So, and I hope just all this practice with me just talking to you guys, like you're sitting in the room with me, really helps when I start doing the voiceovers on actual videos again, because I won't be as nervous about talking to the camera or talking to the microphone or anything like that. Because I'll sit there and for me to say like a 2 sentence little blurb of something, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna like try it again. I'll do 15 takes and I don't like any of them. And then I'm gonna do it again and probably spend 15 to 20 minutes on like every 2 sentence word or 2 sentence word. Wow. 2 sentence statement. So all of that just makes me apprehensive and I just don't like it. I'm just checking my seams. I'm super close there. I think it would work, but I'm gonna sew a little tiny bit in there. Just missed it once again. Do back stitch, back stitch, forward stitch, and chop. All right, looks like I got it good enough, and all that looks good. You sound like you're 3, huh? I'm sure you sound. Sorry, I'm peeling fur out of my mouth. And then trying to pick the fur out of my mouth, I put more fur in my mouth. Gotta love it. No, I'm sure you would sound just fine to us, but no, I totally get that. We'll see. I'm sure you'll start speaking in your videos one of these days. But no, truly your animations are really cool. I like them. I think they're cute. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm kind of surprised at where I'm at today, which I'm not very far, but I'm a lot further along than I thought I would be within the YouTube world. I'm having fun doing it. If anybody watches it, I'm glad they're there, but I kind of don't expect it. And it's kind of weird going to fursuit meetups and people are like, "Oh, hey, I know you. I didn't expect to see you at something. I know you from YouTube." I'm like, "Say what?" Nobody watches me. No one listens to me, especially people that live in my city. But I've actually had quite a few people mention, "Hey, I know you. You do this and that." I'm like, "Yep, that's me. Thanks for watching. I don't really know what to say now." So if you ever come up to me and I'm like awkward, it's because I really don't know what to say. I'm not expecting people to know who I am or what I'm doing, and it's just kind of weird because you're nobody, but then people are like, "Hey, I know you." And I'm still nobody, but I still feel kind of awkward because I don't know what to do. But that's where I'm at. I've been wanting to live stream for so long, but I'm nervous. And I did try to do one, but it was just yeah. I totally get that. I think I first tried doing a live stream and I had like 39 people subscribe to me and I was getting everything set and they're like, "Yeah, you can't live stream. You don't have enough people that follow you. You need 50 people." I'm like, "Ah, dang it." And then I had 50 people real quick and I'm like, "Cool, now I can live stream." But I really don't want to. I'm kind of scared. I don't want to live stream. And then I think you watch me do Hypnotic for a little bit and I live streamed that. I really enjoyed it. It was you and Pancake Squirrel and a few others that were watching me. And we just had a nice little conversation, kind of like we do here. It's kind of nice. But then I still kind of, I don't know, shied away from it. I guess really just because I really don't know if I can do this type stuff while I'm talking and not being, paying attention to what I'm doing. But I feel like I'm making some progress at least, and we'll see. I'm hopeful that it turns out okay. I'm trying to redo things if I jack them up. Like I said, I'm about the only thing I'm really redoing out of the video is just the eyeballs because I got air bubbles caught up in the what is it, E6000 glue. There were just too many air bubbles in that, and because I was recording and I wasn't paying attention to it, I didn't notice that all those bubbles were there, and I didn't work them out. So that was about the only thing I've screwed up on. So I'm working on pouring new eyes and getting those ready, hopefully by tomorrow. But we'll see. And I'll look over here. Just be yourself. Yep, that's what I'm trying. uh, let's see. We're like not close, so I don't know if I'd ever see you at a FurCon. I don't know. I'm starting to work my way out east. That's where I picture you at. It sounds like Tennessee, so I don't know. Atlanta's not too far from Tennessee. Now, I know FWA is probably not a very big, or not a very big, not a great con to go to, probably for your first one, or maybe it's a great con. I really don't know. I'll report back. If I can't speak to being the first con, but I'll have Jinx with me. That'll be her second con and probably her second overall fursuiting event, kind of in public type thing. So I might do a live stream with her there. I don't know. We'll see what she thinks about that. And yeah, I think it'll be fun. I'm really not sure what to expect, so I keep saying nervous, but I'm not nervous. I just don't know what to expect. I think it's just going to be chill. I'm not looking forward, or not looking forward, but not looking to go to any panels or anything. I think the Sergal meetup is probably the biggest thing that I could think of that I'm like, I have to do that. Granted, they don't have any programming out yet, but overall, I think I just want to go out there and hang out and meet people and just really crowd interact with people and just all the different fursuits. I love watching people watching and stuff like that. So, let's see. You like watching smaller channels because they're less chaotic and I need someone to talk to at midnight. Yeah, I forget that the East Coast is a lot later than me right now. Arizona, I think we're on Pacific time right now. We don't change times depending on whether it's daylight savings or not, so it changes between whether we're mountain time or Pacific time, so I always have to think about what time of year it is. And but I'm pretty sure Georgia is right now on 3 hours time difference, so it's about 10 p.m. So that'll be great for me. I'll be able to stay up late at FWA and not really throw my schedule off. Let's see, another Tennessee fur. It's a lot for a first con. Yeah, I truly expect it to be. And with Jinx, excuse me, being her second con, we're just gonna go and we're gonna have fun. We're not really looking for anything too crazy, I don't think. You'll try to go to a fur con as fast as you can because I really want to go so bad. I said this earlier, but I've only ever been at Comic Cons, and Megaplex is a good first con. I've heard good things about Megaplex as well. I've never been. I think I'm gonna. I don't know. I've been hitting up a lot of cons, and this summer I've got a lot of them on my docket. I think I've talked about that a few times, but I kind of need to slow down probably because I've got work. And I'm sure they'll be like, hey, why do you take like 2 or 3 or a week off at a time, like every month? I'm like, don't worry about where I'm going and don't look and see how my time off coincides with all these big furry cons. Oh, yeah, and if you look at my background on my phone, you'll see furry stuff. So, yeah, that I'm sure there's questions, but they probably haven't noticed, but I'm sure they will at some point. Especially when I leave like a fursuit head in my Jeep in the front seat, I'm sure somebody sees that. um, let's see. Yeah, Comic Cons, I don't think I've been to one. No, pretty sure I haven't. Uh, Closest thing that we had that I went to, which was kind of like a fursuit meetup, was going to a local, they called it Library Con. So I did that with a group of people, or actually it was by myself, but met a group of people there. And so when I go to the fursuit meets, we've all been pretty friendly with each other, kind of got to know who each other are and stuff. Uh Christopher and then there's Baz, kind of got to meet them, and now I see them pretty much at every fursuit meet that I go to. And then Christopher, he's a protogen. I really want to make a protogen, but I'm just not techie enough with that type of stuff anymore, so take me back 20 something years, I probably would be better off than I am now. But I don't like programming. It was a pain in the butt back in college, 25 years ago. And yeah, it's not for me. So I've got the Protogen stuff kind of stuffed in a box. That's something I'll work on later. But he's a Protogen, uh, so that's pretty cool. His colors are purple primarily, and really, really neat colors. I don't know, just all sorts of people. Slowly getting to know the Arizona furries quite a bit, so it's been fun. I've been enjoying going and hanging out over at the meets. Starting to get pretty hot. We tend to have there's a fursuit meet tonight actually. I totally missed it. It's up in North Phoenix that I could have gone to. My bad. Oops. But Comic Cons, not everyone or but everyone is so nice and inviting at furry cons. I never leave a furry con without like 5 to 10 new friends. Yeah, I tend to find people, and whether I mean to or not, I always interact with a lot of people. I think it helps when I have the camera and then I share pictures and videos and stuff with them afterwards or during the middle of the con. And then we just kind of spark up conversations and become friends. But I've made so many friends just by doing the video stuff, especially at dance competitions and furry games, things like that. They're it makes it kind of fun. And then I've made good friends with some of the photographers that also hang out there, and so I run into them pretty much everywhere. There's one dude in particular. Uh, I ran into him at like every furry con I've been to except for like one, which is five or six of them in the past year. And so he's at those. I'm like, hey, dude, like I see you everywhere. Like, do you want to be friends? It's not quite how it turned out, but that's kind of how it turned out. So now we're kind of friends. We're at least acquaintances there, and we talk when we're there, and then after that we go radio silent for a few months, and then I see you at the con, and you're my best friend again. So I don't know. That's a pretty good relationship. It works out, but they're pretty fun. Um, I think my daughter and her boyfriend are a lot better at, leaving the cons with making a ton of new friends. I wouldn't say that I'm not leaving making friends, but I'd say when most of the furries are a lot younger, like my crowd that I kind of would associate with and kind of get to know more on a personal level are a little bit fewer and far between. You don't have as many, late 30s, early 40s people that you're kind of running into, and some of the ones that you actually are at that age are kind of weird sometimes. They're the ones that may or may not be somebody that I would want to hang out with and talk with. So, yep, we'll see. But overall, I think furry cons are pretty fun. And you guys are totally blocked off from my view now because Blood Moon and his ears. I can't see what we're doing. We'll back up just a little bit. Ignore all the boxes and fur. I have piles of boxes by the door that I need to break down and take out to the dump. But you guys can see yourselves over there in the chat there. Congratulations. Cool. All right. We got a couple ears. And I have no idea where my slicker brush is to brush him out, but that doesn't work so well on this anyway, so at least not when it's out, glued down. All right, so we have a partial blood moon. Just don't look at the underside. He still has very flappy jowls. But yeah, there we go. We've got a pretty good start. I'm pretty happy with the start so far. His ears are floppy enough. They kind of get to bounce around. I kind of like the bouncy ears. He's kind of fun. He's a really kind of a long dude. I don't even know how long he is. Uh, Here's a tape measure. If I were to guess, it's 24 inches or so long. It's pretty decent. So, ooh, 31 inches long. So I'm kind of long, kind of wide, at least in the head. So there we go. But I don't know. I think that's just part of Blood Moon. I gave him really big ears and I love him, so he gets to stay that way. All right. There we are. Let me look at the chat here. You feel like you're being really weird for saying this, but I actually don't like hugs. No, I can get that. I tend to get asked for hugs and I'm like, sure, I really don't mind it anymore. I thought it was kind of weird, touchy-feely, but that's just the community and I've grown to kind of get used to it. You know about the white hair meat at FWA? Actually, I don't. Um, yeah, I've been looking for the programming. I looked at last year's stuff and I'm like, man, there's a lot to look at here. I won't look at it anymore because I'll probably get confused whether it was last year's stuff or this year's stuff. But yeah, I kind of look at the programming and kind of see what to expect. But I figured there's gonna be the Sergal meet, and then I got hit up in the group, so I've got the Sergal meet stuff that I'm planning to do. The white hair meet, cool. I'm definitely 52. Yeah, I'm thinking you're not 52. Maybe drop the 5, add a 1 in its place. Somewhere in there, maybe 12 to 16 is my guess on the range there. And then, yeah, people think I'm younger in my suit. Last finger. I want to be done with this. Oh, I'm like, what are we talking about? Big Floppa. Yeah, he's he's got some bounce to him. I think it'll work out. We'll see. We'll find out. It's just a few days away. You're 30, so you're working up in age. Yeah. I wish I was 30 still. I'd be like 60 pounds lighter than I am now. I can send the programming to you on Insta. Oh, that'd be awesome. Are you tied into FWA somehow, or do you just kind of have inside scoop? I'm just kind of curious how you have that. But but no, I'm truly looking forward to really everything about FWA. This will be the first con I've gone to that I have to fly there. So that'll be different. Uh I probably should have made Blood Moon a little bit smaller. That way I can travel with him easier, but maybe not. We'll see. I'm not gonna lie, I really do like my hand sewing stuff, and it's something that I can sit at the couch and watch a movie and just hand sew. I love how it turns out, but yeah, my fingers afterwards, like I feel like I'm just stuck here, like eh, and I get like a big indentation here from the needle. It's painful. Oh, okay, so they've got it posted. It's just not linked yet. Okay, that makes sense. I'm like, are you tied in with them? What's going on? If you're tied in with them, hook me up. No, so much fur on the laptop. All right. Um, yeah, so I think that's about all I'm gonna do with Blood Moon tonight. It's super late. It's like 7:17. No, it's really not late. But I am getting hungry because somebody mentioned Chipotle, and now that's on my mind, and it's been on my mind for the last we've been going for 2 hours and 42 minutes. You brought that up about an hour in, so I've been hungry for a while. So I think I'm gonna go grab some Chipotle, but yep, I think it's gonna be a great burrito if I'm able to get it. And we'll see. My wife might want one too, but maybe I'll just do leftovers because it's here and I don't have to go anywhere. The wind blows. But all right. Well, thank you guys again for watching. I'll probably get up early and do things, but for you guys, early is probably late because we're 3 hours difference, at least for one of you. If you show up, great. If not, I'm sure you'll catch up very quickly because you've seen Blood Moon getting built at least once, twice, I don't know, 5 times now. So the big things I need to work on are the eyes, sculpting of the epoxy sculpt around the eyes, finishing up the lower part of the head, um, lining the inside. I don't know, I've got a busy day tomorrow, so we'll see. But thank you again for hanging out. Thank you for sending me the scheduling stuff. That'll be helpful. I'll send that down to Jinx as well, so that way she can start looking at everything. But oh, I've got a few dancing friends, and I love watching everybody dance. That's truly one of my favorite parts of any furry convention or anything like that. The dance is just freaking awesome. I'm jealous that people can move like that. If I could move, I think it'd be cool, but hell, for me, half the time just standing up out of the chair is painful. So that's where we're at. But I love watching you guys dance, so hopefully you start doing that. That'd be awesome. But all right, I've rambled long enough. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes in. I will see you guys tomorrow if you're here, and if not, we'll see you on the next one. So have a good one. See ya.